Hey everyone, Wes here with Dirt Concepts and Roach RC.
Hello there.
In this video, we're teaming up to take a deep dive into something that doesn't get talked about often, the different types of American outdoor A-scale off-road dirt tracks and how they're built, prepped, and maintained. Understanding how the track surface behaves is one of the biggest keys to success, both when building and maintaining a proper A-scale off-road dirt track. Let's get into it.
Unfortunately, Wes is my cutout for this particular part, but shh, let's keep it a secret. The first topic we'll go over is the type of tracks you usually see here in the United States. Each coast of the US has their own different flavor of track surface, so let's start with the West Coast. Generally, West Coast tracks are made of a much looser surface and tend not to hold moisture too well. Because of this, the watering schedule for dirt tracks on the West Coast is critical to keeping the track together under usage. Even though the West Coast tracks are known to be character-filled like DNC or Silver State, a lot of work is put into making sure the track at least mostly stays together despite this. Some notable West Coast tracks that fit this mold will be the Drake Raceway, Silver Dollar Raceway, and HRCR.
On the flip side, head to the southeast and you're dealing with red, clay, and sandy mixes. These tracks still get watered, but the moisture levels depend more on the weather and how the clay is holding together. Since this dirt doesn't drain wet as well, dragging and rolling becomes a big part of maintenance. You'll see calcium added to the surface, not just to reduce dust, but to keep the track together over multiple days of racing. When it's cold, racers will sometimes even apply traction compound to their tires, something you won't see in other regions.
Some notable tracks in the southeast that have these characteristics would have to be Loganville RC Complex, my personal home track, Phil Hurd RC Raceway, one of the oldest tracks in the United States, most tracks in Florida, and many tracks in places like Alabama, like RC3, or Saratoga RC Raceway in Mississippi.
Here in the Midwest, we're sort of in the middle, literally and in terms of track style. The dirt usually includes topsoil and clay, sometimes with a touch of sand. It's a blend that promotes a groove in the racing line, just not as aggressively as pure clay. We don't use traction compound, and we don't add calcium or other surface treatments. Instead, heavy watering during track build and prep is crucial. Run it watered and you'll see minimal tire wear. But when it dries out and grooves up, you're chewing through tires left and right. The high traction, it comes at a cost.
One major track that shares these characteristics in the Midwest would have to be St. Louis Dirt Burners in Kirkwood, Minnesota.
Now, let's talk about building a proper A-scale track. Whether it's for a club race or a big trophy weekend, the process starts with a sketch. Get your layout on paper first. Then it's time to rip. You'll start by removing all the tubes and nails and replacing anything that's broken or worn out. Then, using a bobcat or tractor, cut down the surface to the base and push the dirt into piles for your jumps and key features. Drainage is critical. The base needs to be shaped with the crown to make sure water flows off and doesn't pool. And ideally, the entire track sits on a slightly raised foundation above the surrounding ground. As you move dirt around, try to keep it moist. Dry dirt doesn't compact well and leads to chunking later. During the rough-in phase, all shaping is done with just a bobcat or tractor. Once jumps are roughed in, we'll run a nitro truggy over everything to test the spacing and flow. They handle the rough conditions better and give us quick feedback. After layout testing, water and drag the surface using quads, lawnmowers, or whatever equipment's available. This pulls up rocks which are removed by hand. Then hit the surface again with water and begin the final packing phase, again using mowers or compactors. We're not just dumping water, we're saturating. A good rule of thumb is 600 gallons per 1,000 square feet of racing surface. That level of moisture is what allows for proper compaction and long-lasting durability of your outdoor track. This process will take several waterings spanning multiple days. Interestingly, we follow what I call the lawnmower theory, using the tread of a mower to leave small imprints in the surface. That texture not only helps with traction once the groove comes in, but it also opens up pores in the surface so that it can absorb more water. If you're using a ride-on compactor, just know it'll leave a perfectly smooth surface, but it also seals it, which can make it harder for water to penetrate later. Once you're satisfied with compaction and moisture levels, all that's left is reinstalling the tubing, nailing down the layout, and dropping in your timing loop at the start and finish line. At this point, you've got yourself a legit A-scale outdoor track.
Well, yes and no. You still have to do the pit lane, the driver stand, and the lighting system if you happen to race at night. It's also important to note that pipes aren't the only types of track barriers you can use with nails and pipes and stuff like that. Sometimes people like to use ropes and sandbags, other people like to use PVC pipes and sandbags as well. It really just depends on personal preference and budget.
Track maintenance? It all depends on the weather. Cooler temps mean less evaporation, so watering is more forgiving. But in the summer, you'll need to saturate the track to the point of puddling to keep the base dirt healthy. When the track's drying out on the top, but still has moisture underneath, that's where you get the highest quality groove on the racing surface. Watering the track edges, the edge outside of the racing line, and infield helps pull moisture under the groove in the racing line, and we'll sometimes use a push broom instead of a blower to keep the groove intact without peeling up chunks. Here's how an outdoor track usually develops during a race day. It starts out loose and loamy. After the first handful of heats, the track will begin to dry out and will raise a lot of dust. After approximately one round of qualifying on the dry surface, you'll start to see a groove come in, especially on warm, sunny days. Overcast, the surface takes longer to come in. Hot and sunny, it changes very fast. Peak traction usually hits before sunset, but as the sun goes down, grip starts to fall off due to the cooler temps and rising humidity. The good news is that added moisture in the air and pulled up to the ground, it helps preserve the track.
It's also important to note that the track development will also depend on how many cars are on the track, where you are in a geographical sense, and how the track was prepped in the first place. West Coast tracks tend to develop a little bit differently compared to East Coast ones, and vice versa.
Now, let's talk about layout design and some of the often overlooked details that matter. You've got to plan for drainage, blind spots, and lighting, especially if you're running a night program. Stadium lights can throw shadows, and layout direction, clockwise or counterclockwise, becomes a factor too. The loop location matters most in nitro racing. Make sure it's before the pit lane entrance. Lane width, we recommend running 13.5 foot. While the Roar minimum requirement is 12 foot, Truggies, it's just a little bit too tight for them. If you've got the resources, install a speaker system for pit lane. With nitro engines blaring, that audio makes a huge difference for the pit crews. A monitor helps too, but it's not totally mandatory. When it comes to track prep, not all events are the same. For club races, we try to keep things more approachable, with a watered track and lower tire wear. The goal is to get new people into RC, not scare them off with $150 tire bills and a blue goo track. For bigger events, we go all in. More water, more compaction, and tighter surface management. It takes more time, more hands, and definitely more attention to detail. Outdoor tracks are a labor of love. From layout sketch to the race day groove, it's a process that requires time, effort, and most importantly of all, a crew of highly skilled people who care deeply. But when the groove comes in and the racing's tight, there's nothing better. Huge thanks to Roach RC for teaming up with me on this one. If you liked the video, hit that like button and subscribe to both of our channels. And drop a comment. What's the dirt like in your region, and how do you keep your track dialed? Thanks for watching. This is Dirt Concepts and Roach RC. We'll see you at the track.